Greetings, everybody. This is Robert Messina. I'm up to chapter 5, declaring hidden gemstones. I call them gemstones. I think they're very precious, hidden pearls of wisdom, you could also say. New Jerusalem has the foundation of precious gemstones and pearly gates, and the names of the children of Israel, the names of the apostles. I'm very excited about the book of Esther. It's especially that it's revealing it's revealing lots of things. But one of the main things it reveals is an aleph and a tav before a person, place, or thing, or a phrase that's very important to the heart of God. Very important in His creation. He put a lot of work into everything. That's the biggest identity of the aleph and the tav, the first and the last, the beginning and the end, is He put a lot of work into that word that you're going to that you see and you hear. And if you had the Hebrew Bible, you would see it, but you wouldn't, if you were going to read it and translate it from Hebrew to English for me, you wouldn't say the aleph and the tav, because it's not a word. It's just there. And when He said, I am the Alpha and Omega, that's what He meant. I am, when God said, let there be light, He was there. God said it, the Father said it, and the Son made sure it happened. The Word made sure, the logic, the implementer. That's just how it is with the way He does things. Okay? And I'm very excited about it. To know it. And to know that the book Esther is got the most percentage than any other book. Especially this chapter. And I'm going to tell you at the end what the percentage is. So I don't want to brag about it already. And it's a short, it only has 17 verses. 13, I don't know. In the teens. In the low teens. All right. So, in order to catch up a little bit, I'll read one of the last verses in chapter 3, and then one of the last verses in chapter 4, to let you in on where we are in chapter 5 when we begin it. Okay, so Esther 3:13, and letters were sent by posts, like a post office sends letters, into all the king's provinces. And what's the letter going to be about? What are the words in the letter going to be that all the king's provinces, all the people are going to hear and read and know? Something that's on the king's mind that he's already declared to do? To destroy, to kill, and to perish all Jews, both young and old, feeble children and women in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, and take a spoil of them for a prey. Okay, so that's what they're sending out. And this happens to be the first month. We're still in the first month of the year for Jews. According to the Jewish calendar, the month Nisan is the first month. That's where we are now as far as time goes for Esther. But the last month, the 12th month of the year, on the 13th day, which is 1 month away from the Passover in the first month, that's when they start this. And what's going on every day? There's money being raised for the whole thing to go into the king's treasuries. And how's he raising the money? He's setting up every day, and he's going to be there. Haman is going to be there. He's setting up a gambling casino, you might say, where the people are able to win and make money by throwing lots, throwing dice. And he's going to do that every day of the month, every month of the year. He's going to do that. He's going to be there himself. Make sure it happens. Because he can't stand Mordecai, the Jew. All right? What happened at the end of chapter 4 was 15 and 16, I'll read. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Because Mordecai was telling him, before this verse, before the 15th verse, Mordecai gave a reprimand to his daughter, his adopted daughter, his uncle's daughter, his uncle had passed away, his daughter Esther, that he told her that basically what he said was, you're in a position as the queen to petition the king to please fix this thing. This is not good. And you got to let him know that those Jews are your people. Even though all this time he was telling her, don't let them know that you're a Jew. And he was only doing that because he didn't want her. See, there's a lot going on, but that's okay. I'll repeat it. John the Baptist was sent in the spirit of Elijah, a high, strong prophet, to make way the path for the Lord, to get the people of Israel to repent and to cleanse and baptize and to prepare themselves in a cleansing manner to join with, in other words, they were going to be the bride of Jesus, of the Messiah. And Jesus is the Messiah, and he was the Messiah, and he was before he came, and he was after he came. He is now. He always was, always will be. He is now, and he's about to come back. And when he comes back, he wants a purified bride. And that's what this baptism is all about. And the baptism in the Holy Spirit is also about that. It's even a stronger cleansing. It's a leadership. And we're actually going, in this chapter 5, we're actually going to see where that's hidden as well. So, then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. So now she had a sin of omission where she replied and said, I can't do it. First of all, tell me I can't tell them I'm a Jew, and I am a Jew. And now you're telling me to tell them you're a Jew. And besides that, there's a law that I can't go into that inner court. All right, I can't go into the inner court without a petition from the king. And then I have to touch the golden scepter, and it's a law known by all that I cannot go into that inner court without him calling me, and he hasn't called me in 30 days. So that was her excuse to sort of create that sin of omission. She's playing the role of Jonah. And Jonah had that same sin of omission when he did not go to Nineveh. He went the opposite way. And that's the story, and I detail that in chapter 4. So anyway, back to the 15 and 16. Give Mordecai this answer. Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me. And neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. So 3 days, 3 nights is a crucial thing. I and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So there it is. She's taking action. She's doing what she's was put there as queen to do, basically. She's a queen of great empire where a lot of her people and kindred Jews are living. She's going to take a big part in the salvation of all the people. And it's going to end up, the latter part of it is the Feast of Purim, which occurs on the 13th of the very last month, the month before Passover. Okay? It's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's still going on, and this is where it began. And that festival, they wear masks. They know there's hidden things in it. They hide things. They have lots of delights to eat and to drink. It's a very festive, very cheerful, joyful celebration. Okay, from what I'm told. I mean, all right. So let's go ahead. Chapter 5, the first verse. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day. All right, so you notice that there were 3 days of fasting, and this is the first month now, because they're going to be doing this. They're going to be gambling for a whole year, beginning the first month. All right, now on the 3rd day of that feast, on the 3rd day that after she started to fast. Now, if she starts to fast, on the 3rd day she creates she celebrates a feast. All right? And what feast is that? What happened? In other words, she's mimicking the book of Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the whale 3 days and 3 nights, and that was a sign. The sign of Jonah is 3 days and 3 nights. When Jesus rose on the 3rd day, that was the Feast of First Fruits. All right? It was a certain feast all by itself, and it began the counting of the Omer, which was 50 days until the Feast of Shavuot. The Feast of Weeks it's called, and it's also called Pentecost. All right? So Pentecost, the counting of the 50 days began on that 3rd day, which was also the Feast of First Fruits, which Esther happens to make a feast for her husband, the king, and for Haman, the guy who's setting it all up, who hates the Jews, and is he plays the role of Amalek. Amalek is a nation coming out of Esau. Esau had a concubine, and that concubine had a son named Amalek, and that son multiplied and became strong, and was always, almost every generation, causing hardship to Israel. You know, he did things like the Holocaust. He did things like what Haman's doing right now. He did things like October 7th, which was a feast day. It was the 8th day of the Feast of Tabernacles, which is supposed to be a joyous festive day. It's one of the holiest days of the year for them. It's a day set apart for joy and happiness. And that's why they're caught off guard when they were all in that park. And I don't want to, everybody knows about it. But let's keep going here. I have to continue to read again. Now, so the first verse again. Now it came to pass on the third day, which is the feast of first fruits, that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate. So, in the temple, there's the Holy of Holies, and there's a curtain, and there's the holy place. So the inner court would be that holy place. And that's what she was saying when she was saying, I'm not allowed to go in there unless I can touch the holy scepter. And she was right. I mean, if she's referring to this place in the holy place in the temple, nobody was allowed to go in there without. Let's look at Psalm 24, 3 and 4, for example. He says, "Who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord? Or who shall stand in his holy place? Is it possible? He that has clean hands and a pure heart, who has not lifted up his soul unto vanity." All right, so that golden scepter that she has to touch, that represents purging of her sins, making it possible that she's clean enough and holy enough and pure enough to go into that place. All right? The priests had to always go in there with atonement for their own sins, sacrifice before they go in there, and touching the holy scepter is to me an instrument of God's instrument of purging her sins, her heart. Now, there's two kinds of people. One has to have clean hands and a pure heart. And then the second type of person who has not lifted up his soul unto vanity, nor sworn deceitfully. So you see, somebody that lifts up his soul into his vanity, into idolatry, into nothingness, into vain, exalting oneself. And there's going to be a time very soon for the whole world that AC the man, Antichrist the man, is going to temple that they're going to build. When that's all done, he's going to go in there and defile it, and he's going to exalt himself as God. And there are many verses, and that's not the topic. But this whole thing here about I can't go into the inner court without the king calling me, and if he calls me, I have to touch that scepter. That's all leading up, for me, it's leading up to standing in the holy place. And there is a time it's going to be the abomination of desolation is when the Antichrist, the man, steps into that holy place and declares himself God, like they did at the Tower of Babel. Okay, verse 2. "And it was so, when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court." So she's boldly entered in with a hope that she's going to obtain favor for the king. "And it was so, when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter." There's two phrases there. One is Esther the queen. Okay, Esther the queen standing in the court, and that has an aleph and a tav in front of it. And then the other phrase, the golden scepter, that has an aleph and a tav in front of that. Okay, let's go to 3. Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou? There's 3 times he asks this question. What wilt thou? And what wilt thou means, another way of saying what wilt thou means what is thy petition? All right, because he says this 3 times in chapter 5, and this is the first time, and the only time it's a little bit different is this time, where in verse 3, where he says, What wilt thou? Instead of saying, What is thy petition, Queen Esther? And what is thy request? What is thy petition? And what is thy request? It shall be given thee to half of my kingdom. All right? So that's what she says in verse 3. The king says to her, What is thy petition? What is thy request? It shall be given thee unto half of my kingdom. Now that phrase, to half of my kingdom, this is happening in John the Baptist's time. It's not John the Baptist that asks her the question. Okay, that asks this question. It's not John the Baptist. Okay, so let's go over to Mark chapter 6. I'll let you in on what I'm talking about here. Now that this parallels it exactly, and it has a very big piece. This what's going on here has a very big piece in the salvation of Mordecai and the salvation of all the Jews. It works out because of what John the Baptist, played by Mordecai, is doing right now. Okay, chapter 6, verse 17 and 18 in Mark. For Herod, now this is Herod the Tetrarch, not Herod that, killed the little kids and built the temple. Not him, but his son. He had 2 sons. He had lots of sons, but 2 of them are rulers of Israel, rulers in Israel. And Herod the Tetrarch himself had sent forth and laid hold upon J.B., John the Baptist, and bound him in prison. All right? Now he did that because he did it for his wife's sake, Herodias, who was at one time his brother's wife, his brother Philip's wife. And he was a tetrarch as well. And he married her. And for John the Baptist had said unto Herod, It is not lawful for thee to have thy brother's wife. So John the Baptist was doing the things he does. It doesn't matter if it's a king, or it doesn't matter if it's a poor person. It doesn't matter if it's a Pharisee or a Sadducee or a Gentile. He'll tell you what you have to do to clean yourself up, and what is lawful, and what you have to do to be lawful and be clean. And you can't go ahead and do things like marry your brother's wife. And because he did say that and charge that and made it possible for her to feel guilty, him to feel guilty, and everybody to feel guilty, she wanted to, the wife, Herodias, wanted to kill that man. Wanted to kill John the Baptist. But she couldn't. So she asked at least throw him into jail. So that's what he did. He threw him into jail. He bound him up into prison. So they have a birthday for the daughter. The daughter has a birthday, and verse 23, and he, Herod the Tetrarch, swears to that little girl, Whatsoever thou ask of me, I will give it thee, to the half of my kingdom. You see, they are the same exact words. They're asking for something, and they're going to be given up until half of the kingdom. All right, so that's what pointed me that this is so, and there's no other place. You're not going to see the term I'll give you half of my kingdom anywhere else except the New Testament when it's talking about this birthday, and that's it. And Esther. So she wants. The little girl doesn't know what to do, so she asks her mother, "What are we going to ask for?" And the mother said, "Ask for the head of John the Baptist." It was time. It was his time to go. Basically, he must have been finished what he had to do. Baptism was still going on by the disciples of Jesus, and baptism in the Spirit. Once after Jesus ascended, the day of Pentecost began baptism in the Spirit, and that's going to come up too in this chapter. Verse 4. And as Esther answered, "If it seemed good to the king," then this is what she wants. "If it seemed good to the king, let the king and Haman come this day into the banquet that I have prepared for him." So this is the feast of first fruits, and there must be some kind of the little feast that's going on. For Esther is preparing for her husband, the king, and Haman, who the king is still very fond of right now. At this point in time, he doesn't see anything wrong with the guy. He doesn't see it. And Haman's a pretty good, he's pretty good at it. Haman's name actually means magnificent. And the false Christ will deceive, if he could, even the elect. So he's going to appear very magnificent as well. He's going to have people worshiping him and praising him and leading the way for him to declare himself God. He's going to deceive, if it was possible, even the elect. And we have the Holy Spirit. He can't deceive us. If he could, he can't. We're going to know. If you have the Holy Spirit and you are aware, you're going to know who it is and what it is. And if you're going to ask me, I would say King Charles. I'd be very surprised if I was wrong with that. Okay, verse 5. Then the king said, "Cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther has said." So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. Now there's a aleph and a tav before cause Haman to make haste. It isn't right before it, but the phrase cause Haman to make haste has an aleph and a tav in it that you have to, it's a phrase that the word cause has to be in front of the aleph and the tav. It's part of a phrase though. The whole phrase is cause Haman to make haste. And then the second thing that's in there with aleph and the tav is do as Esther has said. That's in there as well. You see them on the bottom there. And you see Mordecai still fasting and praying and clothed in sackcloth. Verse 6. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, and she tells them, I'm going to have a banquet for you guys tomorrow. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, I'm just reminding you now, it is still Passover. It's still during the 7 days of unleavened bread. So he asked that, what is thy petition? It shall be granted. And what is thy request? It shall be performed. Now I put in brackets there, if you were going to ask me what my request would be, and we're at a Passover feast, I would say I want to drink the 4th cup of wine with him, meaning the Messiah, to the half of my kingdom. I want to drink that 4th cup of wine with him while we're all seated at his table on that day that we have that feast. When Jesus said, I will no longer drink of the fruit of the vine until I drink it with you in the kingdom of heaven. So there it is. That's the 4th cup. He refused to drink that, and when they were giving him vinegar when he was on the cross, he refused to drink that as well. Okay, and then we go to verse 7, and all verse 7 is this. Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is, and she goes, ... That's it. That's the entire verse 7. Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is. So that's the 3rd time she's saying my petition and my request. The 3rd time. Okay, verse 8. This is the 4th time. If I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king has said. She's setting up this tomorrow's feast. All right, she's setting it up for tomorrow, the next day. So she has this petition and request. This time, the petition, my petition and my request is said with an aleph and a tav before them. So you see, now those two, the petition and the request are very, very heavy things in her heart right now, and in all of our hearts, because it led to a victory that we can rejoice in. Meantime, verse 9, then went Haman forth that day joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up, nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. And that phrase, Mordecai in the king's gate, it has an aleph and a tav. 10. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh, his wife. So, he's very happy, Haman, right now. And he's happy to see his wife and his friends. He's happy to let them know good things that's going his way. Now, Zeresh, his wife, is a phrase, and that has an aleph and a tav before it. And his friends has an aleph and a tav before it. His wife his wife Zeresh, translated means gold. She plays a very important, powerful woman as well. And that's the mystery woman Babylon, the mother of harlots. And I say that because the mystery woman Babylon, the mother of harlots, typically it seems like she has a husband, and her husband is usually the emperor at the time that she's, whoever's the emperor. She's almost eternal. She is eternal. She's an angel. She's a fallen, evil, wicked spirit. She represents the world itself. We have to be called out of her. She has a golden cup, and that so that links her to Zeresh, the wife, as well. She's the mystery woman Babylon is responsible for all of the slain on earth, all of the blood of all the people that are slain on earth, and she was there at Cain and Abel. We're told to judge her, and when we do, we got to give her a double portion of what she was doing to us. Know ye not that you shall judge angels? That's going to be one of the last things we do, because she's judged in the 7th vial of wrath. And after the 7th vial of wrath, it's all over. We're completely in the millennium kingdom for good. And after the millennium kingdom, we go into the 7th day of rest forever and ever. So anyway, he's home with his family, and Haman told them of the glory of his riches. Glory of his riches, an aleph and a tav before that phrase. And the multitude of his children, I underlined it, it's very important, but I'll get back to it. It does not have a phrase with aleph and tav. But there are 3 phrases in this. The next phrase is all the things wherein the king had promoted him. That whole phrase there has an aleph and a tav before it. And how he, the king, advanced him, Haman, over the princes and servants of the king. That phrase also has an aleph and a tav. And the reason I underlined them and put in green there and highlighted this multitude of his children, and why I actually did expect an aleph and tav in front of that, but I didn't get it. I didn't see it. It's not there. And what the answer that I'm getting is that the multitude of his children, they're all going to hang on the gallows with Haman. Not with him, but after Haman's dead, they're going to be dead. The 10 sons are going to be killed. So that's my take of why the multitude of his children. How can you highlight that as an alpha and omega when they're going to be dead soon? They're not going to multiply. They're going to be dead. Esther 5:12. And Haman said, moreover, yea, Esther the queen did. Okay, he's proud of this now. And Haman said, moreover, yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king unto the banquet that she had prepared, but myself. And tomorrow I am invited unto her also with the king. Esther is setting this guy up to make him think that, this is my take, she's setting him up to make him think that she's very fond of him, and she can ask him for things, and she's allowing herself to be friendly to him, because there's going to be a scene where he's caught on her bed. And that's going to be not this chapter. So when we get to that, I'll talk to you more about that. But he's going to be caught in her bed. And I think it's a setup that happens. Verse 13. All of this, now Haman's talking now. Yet all of this avails me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. And Mordecai the Jew has an aleph and a tav in front of it. Remember now, Mordecai plays John the Baptist. John the Baptist is born from his mother's womb with the spirit of Elijah. Elijah is one of the two witnesses in the tribulation. So Elijah, as a witness in tribulation, he's dressed in sackcloth, and he sits in front of, I think it's Jerusalem. I think it's in front of the temple, whatever. The temple is being built the 42 months that the two witnesses are there. Antichrist, the man, never liked them. All right? So Haman doesn't like them, like the witnesses, and Antichrist, the man, doesn't like them. And after their time, after their 42 months are up, in the 43rd month, they have a battle with he that comes up out of the abyss, and they are both killed in that battle, and they lay dead, and they're not buried. They are not given the burial rites. They want, and everybody is so happy that month that they're all happy because, number one, these guys are dead and they don't have to hear them anymore. And they give gifts to one another, it says. And there is a time, it says that when everything is good, then sudden destruction will come. So that 43rd month is going to be a time when everything is peace and safety and no hardship. Okay? And that is going to be right before the middle, the very middle is when the abomination of desolation comes, and that's when Antichrist the man exalts himself in the holy place, and he he declares himself to be as God, greater than God, higher than God. He's achieving what the Tower of Babel wanted to achieve, and he's achieving that lifting their soul up in vanities, as it said in the Psalm. He's doing that. Those that be exalted shall be humbled, and those that humble shall be exalted. First shall be last, and the last shall be first. And that's the way it's going to be. So this is verse 14 now. This is the last verse. Then said Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends unto him, let a gallows. Now that word for gallows is simply a tree. All right? Be made 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king, that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Go thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet, and this thing that they said pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. Okay, now you see there I have let a gallows, and I have it. I noted that it's the word there for gallows is just a tree. Let a tree. You could say that a tree is made of wood, and let the gallows be made of wood. 50 cubits high. Now, when I got hooked into finding the different hidden things in Esther from a podcast where the thing that they brought out, the hidden thing that they brought out was the gallows was a tree, and Jesus was hung on and cursed be whoever is hung on a tree. and the tree is made out of wood, or the cross was made out of wood, and the gallows were made out of wood. All right? So anyway, when I looked that up, that's when I noticed, let it be made 50 cubits high? 50 cubits high? A cubit is 18 inches, and that's the smallest one that they have. They have bigger ones than that, depending on what cubit you make, you use. But the normal cubit in a normal man these days is 18 inches. So 50 of them is 75 feet high. 75 feet high. And 10 feet is a story. It's higher than 7 stories high. All right? What the heck are they doing? And it doesn't make sense, except for if you're going to make this story, and they're not doing enough. There actually was a gallows made for Mordecai that Haman had to be hung on, and that Haman's sons had to be hung on. The fact that it was 50 cubits high, that's another thing that's making me see what's hidden there. And what is hidden there is the number 50. And what is important about 50? You've got to count. The counting of the Omer began at the Feast of First Fruits, which was the third day after Jesus was. It was the day he rose, and that was the beginning, the counting of the Omer. And that year, that 30 AD year, the Feast of Pentecost came. And the Feast of Pentecost is when heaven opens. Okay? And in other words, we have entered into heaven. We have entered into heaven with the day of Pentecost. His Spirit is getting poured upon us, and we're getting the kingdom of God within us. We're getting Melchizedek to reside as high priest within us. We are more than clean. We're righteous and all of that. And we're drunk as wine, and cloven tongues of fire are above us. And we speak languages we don't know. Languages of the angels. Languages of men that we don't know. That the 120 were there. Now that's another thing that I wanted to point out. I wanted to point this out on the first chapter when it mentions the 120 provinces. When it mentions the number of provinces, it mentions 127, but it says, the way it says it is 120 and 7. And I think the 7 are in Shushan, the city Shushan. So those are different, separate provinces that are not typical provinces that are in the 120 provinces in the Media and Persia area, kingdom. And there were 120 in the upper room. So those 120 that were baptized that day received the boldness, received strength, and it doesn't say it, but I know they were sent out to all the earth. And they represent the 120 provinces in the empire of the king in the book of Esther. And that's what I was getting at when I was excited at seeing the 120 and 7. 7 Well, for the city itself. And Esther had 7 maidens, and the 7 maidens represent the 7 churches. It goes on and on and on, and it holds my excitement. On the day of Pentecost, and Mary, Jesus' mother, was there even. The 120 in the first chapter is already pointing to the Feast of Pentecost that we're seeing now in the 5th chapter. So anyway, that phrase, Mordecai may be hanged thereon, has an aleph and a tav. Again, it's within the verse. It's a phrase that the may be hanged has to come before the aleph and the tav, but it's part of the phrase. Anyway, the aleph and the tav is in there right before the name Mordecai. All right, so I don't have any more slides. I'm at the end of the chapter. We had 14 verses. And guess how many aleph and tavs? 14. We had the highest percentage in this chapter than any of the other chapters before this one. All right? We had 14 verses and 14 aleph tavs. Beginning and the end. Beginning of time, the end of time, always was, always will be, forever and forever. Shalom, and may your guardian angel bless you, support you, help you, look over you, make you joyful, and chastise you. I ask to get chastised because the closer I get to him, I draw near to him, and he will draw near to you. And as you draw near to him, you start to realize that if God is for you, and you can sense that he's so loving, and he's concerned about every little thing, including your health and every single thing you ask for, he's concerned. As long as it's not asking amiss, asking in the flesh, asking for something that your flesh wants, but it's not a spiritual. It's the spirit that gives life. The flesh profits nothing. And what does the spirit give you? It gives you peace that passes all understanding. And talk to your angel. Or don't even have to talk to your angel. When you pray to Jesus and you pray to your Father, the angels are there to make sure the message gets through. That's about what they're doing. And so does Jesus. And the Father hears it. It's the Father that has the love of the Father.